Hello and welcome to the inaugural episode of Dorks on Sports, a podcast about four dorks talking about sports. My name is Daniel. I am joined here by my dear friend and colleague, author of the Seahawks blog, 12th Life, husband, father, all around Renaissance man, Curtis Eastwood. How are you?
Doing well. Doing well.
All right, this is Curtis's brainchild. Curtis and I annoyed all our friends on social media during Seahawks season, and we figured we would annoy the public at large. So that's where we're at. We have the only person who could herd these cats and Curtis's ADHD, producer Lana.
Hello. Happy to be here.
All right. And last but not least, the fantasy football maven and what is it? 5-time fantasy football champion, Millie Meckler.
Sure. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Yeah. Am I right? Or am I just making that up?
I have to go back and look. I'm pretty sure it's 5 overall amongst various leagues.
Yeah. I mean, listen, I'll make up statistics.
That works for everyone.
Yeah, I know. Look. Sports.
Look, the Mariners have been.
It's about emotion, right? That's what everybody says, right? I feel like you're a 5-time fantasy football champion. All right, let us get to it. The Seahawks, tumultuous offseason, lots of drama. Probably, definitely the busiest offseason in the Pete Carroll era. This may be the most tumultuous offseason in Seahawks history. So we had the Russell Wilson drama, wasn't happy with his O-line. Is he getting traded? We had a bunch of people wanting new contracts, Jamal Adams and Quandre Diggs and Dwayne Brown, and got a new offensive coordinator coming in. Is Pete Carroll too old? Like, what's going on? Waiting the entire offseason to get to this point. So we got Shane Waldron calling some new plays. We got Russell Wilson in a new offense. And they come out and they clobbered the Indianapolis Colts 28-16. And that was a game that wasn't even as close as the score gives. So, Curtis, what did you see in this game? What did you like?
Well, the offense was obvious. It was kind of what I was expecting. I thought that they'd start the season rolling. I thought that they dialed back the whole Shane Waldron offense in the preseason games, and once we got the starters in with Russell, it clicked right off the bat. That didn't surprise me. It was fun to watch. What really surprised me was the pass rush with the defense, particularly rushing with 4. And they rotated in 5 edge rushers. And my God, Rasheem Green.
Rasheem Green. He came out like a demon. Like the broadcasters kept saying, right before that game, Jamal Adams was saying Rasheem Green was like the guy to watch. He was the guy who was having an amazing offseason.
Yeah.
And here he comes. He might be the new star of that defense.
What like it
impressed me, I shouldn't say impressed me, it surprised me, is these new looks on the defensive line of like lining up 5 guys, 5 guys right on that line. I thought that was really interesting. Pete Carroll was asked about it in one of his in his presser, and he was kind of joking about it. He's playing a little coy. I don't know. Maybe that was a mistake in substitutions, but I think this is a cool new wrinkle that they're adding into that defense, and it's obviously working. We harassed that quarterback all game long. Alana, getting onto that, how much of the team's success going forward is going to be about the defense, or is it really going to be about Russell Wilson's command of that offense and him cooking like he was? So the success of the season going forward.
Yeah, I think the main thing that this game told me is that we've got a stacked D-line. and our safeties are unbelievable. That Jamal Adams play where he dove over when Wentz fumbled the ball was like one of my favorite moments of the game.
Yeah.
But I do think that the season lives and dies on the offense. But with that being said, there are 5 stars on the offense not named Russell Wilson. And Shane Waldron's offense is there to make sure that they're getting their time. You've got Tyler Lockett, he of this 69-yard bomb. You've got DK Metcalf with the blue hair. You've got Gerald Everett, who showed up and just caught that first tight end screen. And it was beautiful to watch that type of play in this offense. You've got Chris Carson running for, I think, 91 yards and powering
on only like
through.
16 carries. He was averaging
absolutely.
like 5.5 yards.
Yeah, and it was like I was expecting to see kind of Russ cooking, and then there's Carson just like picking up the hard yards and just going for it. And they had that 33-yard run. And then for me, Will Dissly and that stiff arm, that just sit down. Thank you. I am moving along.
It was
sir.
like reflections of Gronk.
Oh, absolutely. It was beautiful. And so like those 5, I mean, like all of them are studs, and Russell Wilson just gets to play with them. How do you stop an offense with those people? And I also have to call out the best punter in the game, Michael Dixon, because that fucked up punt,
that blown up punt that he was
punt,
just able to like fire off of 45 yards.
Yeah, in the grasp, like that was a momentum killer for the Colts. They had driven on us. If they would have stopped them there, they would have had the ball on our 40.
Yeah.
And with a chance to just put in another touchdown, it would have been a totally different game. He like unbelievable punter.
And not only that play, but all game long, he was dropping them inside the 20. I mean, he's kind of an X factor on that team.
Absolutely.
Millie, what did you like best from what you saw from this new look offense? What the kind of stuff Shane Waldron was calling out there?
Well, I just love to watch my Tyler Lockett, my pocket Lockett, do what he does. And, but I have to say, to some extent, that's just an extension of what was going on last year. But maybe with this new offense, he's freed up more for it. You know, I saw a great little clip of him and Russell talking about that catch, and he was like, it's just like we said we do it. It's just like we said we do it. And so that
Willie Mays catch in the that first one. Yeah.
These designed plays and the trust, and it goes back to, if I still feel like if Russell can just stay a little calm and trusting with those receivers, and not try to make everything happen himself, which I'm hoping is what's going to happen with this offense, then you're going to see a lot of those, and he can spread it around. You know, the only concern I have, which is always the concern you have, is everybody staying healthy. Saw more injuries than I would have liked to have seen in the first game of the season, especially, taking out Eskridge and Penny. We can't have that happen every week, but those receivers just look fantastic. And you're right. Carson just did what he does, and he gets those little bursts here and there, and that's all you need.
I mean, the thing I was really digging about some of Waldron's play calling, and I mean, this goes to just the amount of weapons that Russell Wilson has to play with this season. But, the first half was all about Tyler Lockett and, getting him behind the receivers and, hitting these little slants and stuff like that. And they kind of took that away a little bit in the third quarter. And then it was like, all right, well, we'll dial up DK Metcalf and have him sit in these soft zones, and we'll start throwing it to him for like 18, 22 yards. Even in the first half, it was like the Tyler Lockett show. And then the next drive, it was like, no, this is going to be the one where we just toss it to the tight ends on the sidelines, which is the thing that the Rams kill us with, every game is those, tight end throws right over the line of scrimmage. I thought this game was a Pete Carroll wet dream. This is like a new look team, right? Both on offense and defense, like new schemes, but this is very reminiscent of that 2013 Seahawks, because we're killing them with the pass rush, and we're beating them with an efficient quarterback play and running it down their throats. I mean, Russ was cooking, but this was still, there were more runs than passes, and Russell was doing what Russell does best, which is just manage the game and then take 5 deep shots. And that doesn't mean he's a game manager. That just means that's his best style of play.
Yeah.
Curtis, what's your take on that?
Well, my take, it was interesting because you brought up like this was like a Pete Carroll wet dream style of game. They played a style of defense, particularly that was more Pete Carroll USC Trojans style defense than LOB and what we've seen the last couple of years. Yeah, they did the varied, bear front mixed with nickel and all that sort of stuff, but really they rushed with 4.
Yeah.
And instead of playing single high safety, they played 2 deep. They initially were sending, Jamal Adams and other players on blitzes, and the Colts were picking up on that.
Yeah, they were getting beat on that.
Right. Frank Reich was anticipating that that's what Seattle was going to do on defense. And then they pulled back.
Yeah.
But they made the safeties play, half the field deep.
Yeah.
And by not going into all the bells and whistles of what cover 2 defense is, but to do cover 2 defense competently, you have to be able to be strong up front and rush with 4. And that's what Carroll and Norton Jr. trusted them to do. And my God, let me just go right back to like Rasheem Green, former USC Trojan, by the way. They redefined his position a little bit more. They got him more in that Leo kind of thing. At first he came in, when he was, out of USC, and they thought he was going to be the next Michael Bennett, and they tried him sort of a defensive tackle, defensive end kind of thing. They had him doing that maybe a little bit in this game, but really, he was making all those plays out on the edge, and he's a super athletic kid. If you ever see him, I've gone to a few, Seahawks practices during preseason mini camp stuff, and seeing him walking on the field with other defensive linemen, he looks like a Greek god.
He's a big guy.
Guys that look like Greek gods. He is like big, but he is like cut like a freaking diamond. He is like 6'4", 280 pounds, and maybe like 1% body fat. Like he is just ridiculous physical specimen. And if they have him playing like that at Leo with with Daryl Taylor, who's got
some amazing stats
like that, it's just like my God, those are Leos. And Daryl Taylor is fast too.
Speaking of Daryl Taylor, I can't wait to get him in a home game when he can kind of get a jump on those on the snap. That's going to be fun to watch. I was really taken with the thing I like most about how this defense came together was they eliminated the big plays. They kept everything in front of them, and even they were doing that thing that Pete Carroll likes to do, which is if you're going to score a touchdown, you're going to earn it. It's going to take you, 12 plays in 9 minutes to get it. You're just going to have to dink and dunk your way down the field because eventually you're going to start making mistakes. I think that's exactly what they started to do. I think Ken Norton early on figured out that Colts offense super fast, and they just had the keys to that backfield. I was hopeful about the defense going into this game, and I'm really excited. That Colts offense is good. That offensive line is good. That Colts team is not as bad as the Seahawks made them look.
Their defense is really good too, and that's a real testament to how the offense had played, because they were one of the top. I think they were a top 5 defense last year, and I don't think they changed much personnel
Yeah, no, I'm excited to see the other new wrinkles that Waldron is going to add to this offense. And the cool thing is like these are all like basic conceits that we've seen Russell Wilson do for the last 10 years. It's just all coming together in new and creative ways. And I kind of like that. I want to move on away from the Seahawks just a little bit. And Millie, what were some surprising things from the rest of the NFL in week 1 that you saw?
Oh man, I was actually just sort of going through that in my mind. And of course, one of my favorite surprises was the upset of Tampa Bay. That was a great way to start the year.
Did you mean Green Bay?
That too.
Oh, okay. Sorry, because Tampa Bay won. That's why I was confused.
Wait, what?
Tampa Bay beat Dallas.
That's right. I kind of blocked that out.
Sorry, I didn't mean to step
well.
on you.
Green Bay.
But yes, Green Bay did get their butt
kicked.
kicked.
That was my favorite upset.
And Aaron Rodgers looked absolutely
Awful.
terrible out there.
Just checked
He
out.
was horrible. Aaron Rodgers looked like he was on vacation all offseason and didn't look at that
For
playbook.
just about everybody, especially that are Seahawks fans, we really enjoyed what felt like a bit of a comeuppance for what we all watched happen over the offseason and all of the flack that we got for Russell, who I think, knows that, man, that was rough. We're not going to talk about it. In fact, we're just going to talk about how stupid Green Bay looks. Because, for all of that, and here he comes on with this attitude and he gets out there and that offense just looked horrible. And it felt like watching a team that didn't want to play for their quarterback to some extent.
And a quarterback who didn't want to play. I mean, there were shots of him on the sideline, after he threw a dumb interception. And instead of being in the playbook and looking at, the video of what the last play was, he's just kind of like pouting on the bench.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you see Russell Wilson throw an interception and immediately he's collecting his team and he's looking at the tablet and he's seeing what's going next. I can't stand Aaron Rodgers.
I just interject?
It was really nice just seeing him be the worst quarterback in the league, and he was playing against Jameis Winston. So,
Oh my God,
Yeah.
that was beautiful. And Winston played great. He played.
he did. He played great.
Yeah. Can I just want to simply add, this has been my observation with Rod. I mean, I'm not a Rodgers fan, and I mean,
By the way, I just felt a great disturbance in the Green Bay Twitterverse and millions of souls crying out in pain. I think we're going to get some hate if this gets out.
I just want to say real quickly, a few years back, when Cam Newton had that awful performance in the Super Bowl and kind of pooped himself with the fumble, and
he gave up.
Extremely defensive after the game, and it carried over, and and he has kind of he's had a penchant for poutiness on the sidelines, and he's been called out for that, by a lot of fans, a lot of media.
And
Rodgers has the worst body language, facial expression when he
really does.
And these guys in the media that, want to plug this guy because the league's probably telling them, you got to plug Rodgers, they don't call him out. He's a punk.
That's what we're here for.
It's
We're here to call
Russell
Rodgers
Wilson
out the way he should be called out.
It's absolutely it's an absolute racist double standard. Like
100% racist double standard.
I don't want to spend too much time on it, but God, that just.
But we should put the name to it, because if we just say, "Well, I wonder what the difference is,"
totally.
That's being a little too coy. And like, what it is you've got two people who behave the same way. One is treated like shit, and one won the MVP last year. Like, and the white guy won the MVP last year.
The black guy won the MVP a few years back.
2015.
It's true. It's true. But that was before, that was when he was still fresh,
Sure.
So Yeah,
And he hasn't played well in the last few years, so it's not like a
right.
I do just want to give you, one more highlight to me though of what I saw in week 1, and that is Kyler Murray,
Okay.
who just
Yeah.
looks fantastic, which gives, I think, all of us just a tiny bit of fear. But
It
it's
does.
just week 1 and it's just game 1, so hopefully that's gonna sort
He
itself
was
out.
looking a little vintage Russell Wilson to me. Yeah, I mean that's a. I was skeptical about a lot of the teams in the NFC West. I knew they were going to be good, but the media was talking it up. It's the Rams with, Matt Stafford, and the 49ers that, they're healthy again. We got the two-headed dragon, and the Cardinals, this might be Kyler Murray's MVP year. And it's like, okay. Now Matt Stafford looks pretty good for the Rams.
Yeah.
The 49ers, their defense didn't look great. I mean, they collapsed late against a bad Lions team, but Garoppolo looked good. And, when they brought in Trey Lance like 2-3 times, whatever it was, one of them was a touchdown.
Right.
And the Cardinals, Chandler Jones
Yes.
is scary. And
Yeah.
I don't look forward to seeing him against the Seahawks offensive line. And Kyler Murray looked really good. He looked good.
Was
The
it 5?
The
was
NFC
it 5
West
sacks?
is
Was it
white.
5?
Go ahead. Yeah. What's up?
Was it 5 sacks that he
5
got?
for Chandler Jones alone.
Yeah.
Chandler Jones 5 sacks. Yeah.
It's terrifying.
It's terrifying. Yeah, it's absolutely.
I did
terrifying.
not notice that. That's unbelievable.
Yeah. I think this is, if you were to do a power rankings and you put the NFC West numbers 1 through 4 in whatever order, I don't think that's like out of, the realm of reality. I mean, we might be looking at the 4 best teams in the NFL.
Mhm.
The Ringer has the Seahawks at 3, the Rams at 4, the Niners at 6, and the Cardinals at 11. So, like,
Right.
we're effective at 4 of the top 11 teams in the NFL are in the NFC
Yeah.
West. And I also want to call out that the AFC West is currently undefeated.
Yeah.
All the Western teams are undefeated right now.
Yeah. 8 of the teams in the West all won their games.
Yeah.
Yeah, in
The
week
West
1.
is the best.
The
Yeah.
West is the best.
That was my biggest surprise. The other surprise that I wanted to kind of call out was the Manning podcast or the Manning broadcast last night. It was a weird kind of bananas. It was like watching us watching a game and talking about the game as it went along. But perhaps, one of us is Peyton Manning and a football savant. But it was like at the start, it was garbage because it was like, here's my comedy skit because I'm Peyton Manning and I was on
It was
SNL
rough.
a couple of times.
Yeah.
But then toward the end, they started bringing on guests, and I heard that ESPN was like, "Hey, focus on the game a little bit more and don't do these skits." To the Manning Bros, and it sounds like that worked because they brought on Charles Barkley, they brought on like a golfer, maybe I don't remember, but then they brought on Russ, who came on like halfway through the 4th quarter and just hung out for the rest of the game, watching the game with them. And the Manning Bros were both like, "Well, it's good to have you, Russ." He's like, "Yeah, I love being here. I'm going to stay for a while." And he just like overstayed his welcome. But like watching the end of the game with the Raiders playing like garbage and still winning, while Russ is like, "You don't want to do that, man." It was wonderful television by the end. So I'm in favor of that type of experimentation. I hope more broadcasts try things like that. And that maybe we could see some variety and not just the Manning brothers. But I thought it was actually a pretty big success. And barring a Seahawks game being on Monday Night Football, I'll probably watch that over the Mike Tirico or whoever it is on the other broadcast.
Yeah.
Who are bad.
Well, and 800,000 people tuned into it, which for an ESPN2 broadcast, those are good numbers.
Yeah.
I tuned in a couple of times, and I did watch from the final 2 minutes to the end of the game with that broadcast, and it was a lot of fun. And Russell was sort of delightful. They kept inviting him to leave if he'd like, and at one point he was like, "Well, she's at the Met Gala, and I was just going to watch film, so I may as well stay here."
Yeah.
I think Russell, is in real life is actually one of those guys and you're trying to like kick out of the room and he's not reading the cues. No, I'm good. I like being here.
Yeah.
I'm good. Moving on to next week. So we got the Seahawks home opener, first home opener, with fans since the pandemic. We're inviting the Tennessee Titans, who got their absolute butts kicked by the Cardinals last week. Curtis, what do you think are the keys to the Seahawks winning this game?
Well, I think they need to continue to be aggressive and creative on offense. Getting up front early will help, and building on that. Defensively, I think they're going to have to key on Derrick Henry. He only got 17 carries against the Cardinals. I don't think that's going to sit right with what, the head coach over there is going to want to do with him. He might sort of get 10 more. They're probably going to try and get him at least, 20 to 25 carries in the game. And, they're going to have to, Brian Monet, who played great.
He played great.
Oh, he was another one that really surprised me for the Seahawks. But yeah, I mean, those big fellas up front gotta slow down the run game.
Which they did pretty well last week.
Brooks and and Bobby and Jamal got to tackle well. Diggs got to tackle well. Those corners got to tackle well. I think you want to get Tennessee having to win a game with their quarterback. Tannehill's a decent quarterback, but that's how you want to get them going. So we get that pass rush going again. Because if Chandler Jones, if one guy got 5 sacks against that team, they're got to come in here with a house full of 12s that haven't seen live football in like well over a year. They're going to be jacked. If that gets that early lead and they get Tannehill having to throw on third down, third and long, then I think that's a great spot for Seattle to pull out another W.
Yeah. Alana, do you think the Tennessee Titans are as bad as we saw last week?
I think the Tennessee Titans came into the game with Julio Jones and Brown and Derrick Henry and Richard Tannehill up against the Cardinals and thought, we don't have to try very hard. I don't think that they took the Cardinals seriously. And I think that's what ended up costing them. I think we're going to see a more fired up Titans team next week. And I think that the result will be a little bit different. I don't think that Tennessee is on the same level as the Seahawks, but I think they're good. And I think that they're a dangerous team. They're a wounded animal a little bit. There's a lot of pride that I think wounded in this last game. But I don't think that their offensive line I think we can show up their offensive line. I think the biggest thing I'm afraid of is that tandem of Brown and Jones with Henry just pounding the ball down us. I think we can handle it. I think that it might be a shootout, and I like our chances in a shootout. I also like our chances in a close game. So overall, I like our chances, but I think it'll be a tough game.
Yeah, I mean, I like our chances too. I think fired up Seattle fan base who hasn't seen live action
for sure.
19, 20 months or however long it's been is going to be the X factor here. Millie, what do you think? Do you think this is going to be a close game?
I do think this is going to be a close game. I don't think that Tennessee's secondary is going to be a great matchup against our receivers. But I think that with their running game, they can really poke some holes in what we've got on the defense. But in the end, I think we're gonna win, but it's gonna be close. I mean, I'm gonna call this one at 21-20 for the Seahawks.
All right, well, let's dive into predictions then. So we got Millie here on camera, on recording. She's saying 21-20 Seahawks. Is that right?
Who scores the touchdowns, Millie?
Oh, Tyler Lockett. He scores all the touchdowns.
All three of them?
All three. It's a deep bomb Tyler Lockett. It's a red zone Tyler Lockett, and then Tyler Lockett on jet sweep.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
yeah.
But you know what? If we could get one to Disley, I'd be all right with that too.
There you
because
go.
Will
Yeah,
needs
I
all
like
the
it.
touchdowns.
Definitely,
One of those where he like has to wrestle it from
Yeah.
from the linebacker's arms.
Maybe he can just do a stiff arm where he's got like the ball in his belly and just stiff arm two
Just
people
like
at once.
yeah.
He's like,
I like
no.
Yes, I have definitely gotten on the Will Disley is delightful train as I'm seeing more and more sideline footage of the guy. He's just fun.
I,
Yeah,
the Seahawks with some tight end packages is really fun. I
Oh my
think.
God.
Curtis, what's your prediction here? What's the final score?
I think it's going to be a little bit more higher scoring for both clubs from last week. I think Seattle wins by a touchdown, 34-27.
Okay.
I think there's going to be a little bit of shootout, but I think they're going to get ahead. And Tennessee is going to have to play catch up most of the game, all the game.
Does this is it going to be a classic Seahawks win where it comes down to final possession, or
I think that I sort of think it's going to be classic Seahawks of late, where there is a somewhat of a comfortable lead in the fourth quarter, but Tannehill's an athletic quarterback who can make plays with his legs and his arm. I think I can see Tennessee getting a couple quick scores with 8 minutes left to go that bring them within a touchdown, but Seattle's able to play keep away, and they'll grind clock. Maybe they'll get it within 4, and then Seattle kick a field goal and just make it a 7-point game, and there won't be enough time left. Last play of the game will be Rasheem Green dropping Tannehill for a 15-yard sack fumble. Poona Ford picks it up.
big man touchdown.
And then bobbles the ball out of bounds or something like that. That's the end of the game. Yeah.
Alana, what say you? What's the final score?
So I am inclined to go higher score, but it's gonna rain on Sunday. And I think that's going to have an impact on the game, especially when you look at Tennessee and how they want to run the ball. And I mean, I think our offenses are fairly similar, where we want to run the ball, we want to do some short passing, and we want to have
take our deep shots.
So I think that, the rain is going to impact us in the same way. So that doesn't change the outcome. And the Seahawks are not like a team that is built well. We don't drop the ball much. Our receivers don't drop the ball much.
Yeah.
Lockett is one of the best, hands guys in the league. So is Julio Jones. So I think what that does to me is it just takes the score from being like 38-31, and it takes it down to 24-17. And that's what I'm calling Seahawks 24, Titans 17. I think Disley does get in the end zone. I think Carson runs for one, and I think Lockett gets the other one. Or if it's not Lockett, it's going to be a Russell sneak or designed run. And then a couple of field goals or a single field goal from our boy Jason Myers. And they won't know how to deal with Michael Dixon and his punting game. So that's where I'm at.
That's close to where I think it's going to be. I don't think it's going to be a high scoring game. I don't think it's going to be like, a defensive slobber knocker, but I predict a 21-17 score. And like last week's game, I think that score, the Seahawks do this a lot, where the score doesn't really reflect how close the game was. Like, the Seahawks will typically take command of a game and let them score a little bit in sort of like garbage time.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's going to be closer to that. 21-17 is what I'm saying. Okay, moving on. We got other Seattle sports to talk about here, because we got the Seattle Mariners for the first time in 20 years, legitimately, actually, realistically fighting for a spot in the playoffs with meaningful games in September. Millie, what's your take here? Who are these Mariners? Are they going to are they going into the playoffs for the first time in almost 20 years?
I will tell you real time right now, Mariners are now up 2-1 on the Red Sox.
Okay, which will put them in, if they win today, it puts them within a game of the wild card, I think.
Yeah, so it's really tight right now because you got the Yankees and the Blue Jays, right? Blue Jays.
Yep.
I think that's right.
And then and then we're right behind the Red Sox, and so since we're actually playing them, it always gets super weird with the numbers. But yeah, we keep winning against the Red Sox, and we can get there.
We can sneak
come
in.
down to the Yankees losing, which
And they
did a
haven't
bunch
been
of.
great in the past couple weeks.
One today.
So it's it's going to come down to the wire. I've got them in the wild card. I want to see it happen. I'm going to just manifest that into the universe to happen. I think we're ready. I think this city's ready to see it.
This city is ready to see it. Alana, you're going to the game tomorrow.
Yeah.
That's right. All right. What say you? What's your take here?
It is. This wild card race is fascinating. I'm not baseball isn't my sport. I always root for the Mariners, but very passively, and I follow what they're doing. This is the first year in a while that I've been at all interested, or intentionally interested, I think is a better word. The last game I went to was when Ichiro tied the hit record in a season.
Oh, wow.
And so it's been a while. And that was such an exciting game to see that. The fact that they're 12 games above 500 is amazing.
It feels great.
Yeah, the fact that they're second in the AL West is amazing. The fact
Also
that they
amazing,
went 8-11 against the Astros after a couple of years where they went 3-16 or whatever.
Yeah.
Also amazing. I want them so badly to make it this year.
Yeah.
But Toronto is playing out of their minds.
I know.
The Yankees can probably turn it on at any time. And the Red Sox are the Red Sox, and everybody wants them to win for some dumb reason because they, like the Yankees, are a stupid team with stupid fans like my sister.
We're really going after it. We're getting the Green Bay fans on us. Now we're going to get the Red Sox and New York fans against us. I say, listen, go big or go home.
Right.
In sports, you got to be the heel.
Right. And
that's right.
The Red Sox games at Mariners Stadium have been notoriously awful because Red Sox fans show up and act like they own the place. And
where did they come from, by the way?
Right, exactly.
Where are you taking over my city?
Yeah. So as much as I want the Mariners to make it this year, I think they're going to fall just short. I think they're going to fall a game out. And I think that's going to be such amazing fuel for them next year. I do not see a world where they don't make it into the playoffs next year. This has been such an amazing experience for this young team that I think it's going to propel them to success next year. But I don't know that they'll make it. I want it, but I don't know.
Yeah. Curtis, you've been watching Seattle sports for half a century.
Woof.
What do you think about these Seattle Mariners? Are you excited? Do you think they're going into the playoffs, or is next year their year?
I'm very excited. They're not going to make the playoffs. They're going to the playoffs next year.
All right. Are they going into this wild card next year?
The AL East is legit. They got a lot. There's three really solid clubs in the AL West or the AL East.
Or if you with Tampa too.
What's that? Tampa.
Four with Tampa too.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not even thinking about Tampa because Tampa's so far ahead. It's just hey, if they win tonight and they win tomorrow and they've swept the Red Sox, then that might be my radar. But they just got beat by the Diamondbacks.
Yeah.
So it's like,
Yeah.
you know, they're young, they're learning, they've got a great young core.
Yeah.
That's
And
what
if
I'm excited
anything,
about.
this year
And-
is giving them the experience that they need.
Exactly. And let
Yeah.
them feel what it's like to almost do it, but not quite. And then next year, just kill. Just go
Mhm.
out and
Yeah.
kill and slay.
Win that
and
division.
take down those Astros.
Yeah.
You know, just be
It would
fearless.
feel,
Be a
it would
fearless
feel so
club.
good.
You know.
So
Yeah.
Dan,
Before we close this thing out, this
Dan,
is
Dan,
Dorks
Dan,
on
did
Millie has
Sports.
something.
did I
Oh,
did
go-
I
go
actually
ahead.
get your projection on that? Did you say next year, nothing this year? Is
For
that-
for the Mariners, are we going to the wild card or are we getting the wild card or not? My emotion, my soul wants it to happen. My soul says yes, but the mind says no. Like the heart says we can do it, but the stats to me just don't bear it out. So if I were a betting man, which I'm not, I would bet that they're not going to the wild card. But my heart, we're going. So when they go to the wild card, you can say, hey, you did it. You predicted it. And when they don't, you can be like, Daniel, your brain is really smart. You said they weren't going, and they're not going.
So for the dork board, I'm just gonna write heart and brain disagree.
Yeah,
And I think that's for all three of us, frankly.
Yeah, I think that's true. And
think that's,
any Seattle Mariner fan
Yeah.
who hasn't been completely disillusioned at this point. But okay, before we close this thing out, this podcast is called Dorks on Sports, but that doesn't mean we're dorks about other things. I want to say the thing I want to dork out on this week is I'm a big Marvel fan. I love all the Marvel movies. I saw Shang-Chi and I absolutely loved it. I thought it was, a lot of these Marvel movies were starting to get very formulaic. And while Shang-Chi still is fitting in that, in sort of like how the Marvel movie formula goes, especially with these origin stories and everything, the new elements they added into it with sort of mythology and magic and dragons and all of this kind of cool stuff, I was absolutely completely charmed. I thought all of the actors did such a fantastic job. Michelle Yeoh, who did Crouching Tiger, Sleeping Dragon 20 years ago, looked like she could do Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon today as like a 50-year-old woman. I was completely charmed. I thought it was a great movie. And has anybody else seen it?
I haven't seen it
Shang-Chi?
yet. I haven't seen it.
I chose to see Free Guy instead.
I really loved Free Guy as well. I thought another really charming movie that was a lot better than I think I thought it was going to be going in. Super fun movie. Ryan, it was as if Ryan Reynolds actually wrote that screenplay. I don't know what kind of thing he has in his contract, but it felt to me like he was rewriting the script as it was shooting. Super fun. Millie, what is it? What are you dorking out on this week?
Well, as promised, finished season 1 of
Ted Lasso.
Ted Lasso.
Welcome to the Ted Lasso universe.
Yeah,
where
so
everything is
all I wanna
good and
do-
wholesome.
All I want to do is, respond to people with believe memes and say football is life. And so I'm
Yes!
That means so you're not caught up all the way into season 2 yet, is that right?
No. We just finished season 1, so he's here,
Okay.
he's there, he's everywhere.
Yeah.
It just the warm fuzziness of that, and I'm dorking out over it because one, it's great because it's also a sports story, right? And we all love our sports clearly because we're dorks on sports. But just the sincerity and the idea of a narrative that doesn't rely on everybody constantly backstabbing each other and and wrecking personal relationships for all the wrong reasons. And there's some of that, but there's an immediate consequence, an immediate thought. And there are people who apologize. There are people who accept apologies and figure out how to move on. Like,
Yeah,
there's
and
a
those
lot of
conflicts
stuff
actually
that I don't see in adult entertainment anymore that
Right.
shows adults acting like adults who are
Yeah.
empathetic, good human beings. And it just makes
Right.
me happy.
Even when they're making the wrong choices, they're making the wrong choices for the right reasons. I mean, at least you can understand why they're making these wrong choices, that they're good people and they're making these choices because of trauma or whatever it is going on that needs to be worked out. And we've talked about this before, but Ted Lasso feels like Pete Carroll to me.
A lot. I think there's draws for sure. And Carol.
Yeah. In terms of the culture building and
Absolutely,
everything like
yeah.
that. But yeah. Curtis, what are you geeking out on? What are you geeking out on this week?
God, I love Ted Lasso so much. I'm gonna mention something else, but I'm just gonna say that the empathetic style of writing on that show is just absolutely what I feel we all need to see that.
Yeah.
Whatever side of whatever fence you're on, you just sitting down and watching other characters' perspectives, and not everything's fuzzy on the show. There is self-preservation, there's people
and
going through their own-
disappointment.
and disappointment and stuff, but just the empathetic quality of writing, of seeing a character's perspective of what they're going through, a glimpse of their life that makes them decide to act in that sort of way. I just think is just fantastic storytelling and a show that's ridiculously funny.
Yeah, it's a new trend in comedy that I've seen. It seems like it's getting a little popular, and I think it's like exactly what we need at this time in this weird, divided, political, tumultuous, world that feels heavy, right? We saw it with Schitt's Creek. We saw it with The Good Place. We're seeing it with Ted Lasso right now. And, I don't think it's a coincidence that all three TV shows are being heralded as some of the best TV shows of all time. I think it's something that we are yearning for right now as a culture, coming from, that sort of the anti-hero, cynical thing that came up out of the 1990s and never really went away. And it feels like, I don't know, we might be going into a new era that I think is all very refreshing for everybody watching.
Yeah. But I just want to add the thing that I'm really geeking out about.
Yeah.
Is taking it back to the MCU. I'm just going to say episode 5 of What If.
What if there was a zombie apocalypse?
Oh my God.
Super fun.
I was equally laughing my ass off, and I was quite terrified of the whole scenario. I was like, I don't know if I want to watch this all the way through.
Spoiler alert for anybody who hasn't, watched the What If episodes. But Hank Pym now is author of 2 universes, that are losing all of their superheroes. So I keep an eye on that guy.
Yeah.
I'm just saying, we thought Thanos was the big bad, but it might quietly be Hank Pym. Alana, what are you dorking out on?
So I want to, I'll a lot, but I wanted to call out the Hawkeye trailer because the tone of that, I was like, what the fuck? It just was like, oh, I guess this is Die Hard with more comedy. It was so surprising to me to see that, and it made me interested because he is by far my least favorite of the Avengers because I think Jeremy Renner is a piece of trash. I'm happy to have Haley Stanfield in. I'll watch it. Excited to watch it. Lula Rich, if you want to, in my house, 2 things will make us watch anything. One is cults, and the other is multi-level marketing. And let me tell you, this is a cult that is multi-level marketing with buttery soft leggings. And it's pretty impressive.
Can I just say also, as for theater artists here in Seattle, how do I get the rights to Steve Rogers the musical?
Oh, I know, right?
Yeah. I wanna put
I
this
can't
thing
wait to
up.
see that.
Yeah.
The last thing I want to call out as a theater person is Come From Away on Apple TV. We watched it. I watched it with my family. We all I wept through the entire thing because it was in May, we brought back people to live theater for the first time in 14 months. And you see all these masked patrons come in. And then they start to tell the story about these planes landing in a remote part of Newfoundland on September 11th after the towers went down. And they released the thing on September 10th. So we're reliving the story about human kindness around the worst tragedy of our earlier lives, while we're starting to kind of be restored from the biggest actual tragedy of our lives.
Oof.
And we're getting to see all of this wrapped up in this just cozy, quaint, cute, adorable little story about human kindness. It was a lot for me. And there were so many moments where my daughter Svea was just yeah, watching theater. And as a theater person, married to a theater person, as the child of a theater person, knowing that tradition is carrying forward is just super meaningful to me. And she's watching it and she's like, oh, this is like Hamilton, because it's a story about something that actually happened in a musical format. And it's you just yeah.
That's
It meant
cool.
a lot.
And where is it streaming?
Apple TV.
Apple
So
TV.
y'all have it.
All right. Apple TV doing just really, really good stuff this year.
Yeah.
Good for Apple TV.
What about
All
you,
right.
Daniel? What are you dorking out?
What Shang-Chi was mine. That's my big thing. Yeah,
That's right.
yeah.
Sorry about that.
That was my thing. I think the MCU is putting out some really fun stuff this year that I've been dorking out on. All right. I think this thing is wrapped up. I'm finished dorking out about some stuff. How about you folks? You finished dorking out on some stuff?
I'm all dorked out.
All right. I'm all dorked out too. Okay. This is Dorks on Sports. You can find us every Wednesday. We'll be breaking down the Seahawks and other Seattle sports. Thanks so much for tuning in. We really appreciate it. My name is Daniel, for Alana, Curtis, Millie, the rest of the 12s out here in Seattle, saying goodbye and go Hawks.
Go Hawks.
Go Hawks.